Hello, and welcome to something new. This is something I'm calling Flowerelle reaction time. It's probably just going to be a one-time thing. But hi, my name's Elle, and as you may or may not know, I am currently doing my first ever playthrough of Honkai Star Rail, and I've just been really enjoying learning about the game and learning about the lore so far. I'm very new still. I've only played maybe like less than 20 hours. Like it's got to be like 18 hours or so that I've been playing so far. I'm still quite new to the game. And I've just been really interested in the lore so far and just trying to understand the game a little bit better. So I thought, some supplemental sources, some videos might be helpful to understanding more about the game. And that's why today I am going to be reacting to some videos that I think might help me out with that. A couple of these were suggested to me from commenters, and another one I just decided to choose myself. We're going to be watching 3 videos today. And yeah, just to learn a bit more about the game. Spoiler free, because I obviously haven't watched any, Honkai Star related videos myself since I've started playing, because, I'm so early on in the game so far, I really don't want to get spoiled. But yeah, so the things we're going to be watching today, the first one is Myriad Celestia trailer, Fables About the Stars Part 1 from Honkai Star Rail, and then 1.0 A Beginner's Guide to Lore of Honkai Star Rail by Ashikai, and then Eons the Gods of Honkai Star Rail by Honkai Star Rail Lore. I'm just gonna sit here and hope that all of these are spoiler free. The first one and the last one these were suggested to me from commenters, so I'm assuming they're gonna be spoiler free because I asked for spoiler free. Yeah, I'm excited to see these. I'm sure they're gonna provide me with a lot of the questions that I have answers to. And I'm a bit of a visual learner, so maybe seeing some things will help clear up some misconceptions I've had about things. Anyway, yeah, with that, let's get started. Okay, yeah, so video number 1 is the Myriad Celestia trailer by Honkai Star Rail. So let's see how this is. I'm excited to see this. Let's see.
Let's make an exchange, shall we? An exchange of memories.
Oh.
I dreamed of a ray of light, of a crystal chalice.
Ooh. This is pretty.
The light that shone from that crystal spoke to me. Listen to the parable of the stars.
Whoa.
The nameless one, the pathless one, arrived from the edge of the wilderness, clad in stellar radiance.
Who's speaking right now?
March unwaveringly into solar wind. At the end, you will return to my embrace, but march towards the light.
None of the destruction. Okay. So that's going to be telling us about the different eons.
Piercing through the clouds as a golden death.
Whoa.
Towers crumbled.
Oh!
And the people fled, for the sun
That's who that
is.
We saw
destruction.
We saw Nanook in, I think it was the second video of the Let's Play when we destroyed that, what was it called, that the giant dragon thingy, and the Stellaron almost went crazy. That's who we saw in a vision or something. Okay, so that's who that was. I was like this must be an Eon or something, and now I know which one. Okay. And yeah, in case you don't know, we've already learned a bit about the different eons from the data bank, so this is kind of just some more fun stuff. Okay.
But be not dismayed, O child of the world.
Oh, the soundtrack is so good.
Will descend to purge the wicked abominations. You must follow the traces
what a cool
left
design
in the storm's wake. The Celestial One guards their secrets, plotting out the routes that connect.
Ooh, the music's going
all
crazy.
things. but they are silent, like a shroud of mist at the center of the
Whoa.
universe. Listen to the silence.
It's like a
and you will
robot or
know
something.
where
They're
the
like a robotic
stars
sort
are
of
resting.
eon.
Let your staff strike the earth, they say.
And, oh, sorry for pausing on the feet. Bloop. From what I know about the abundance is I remember, from what I read in the databank, there was like some other like factions and paths and stuff like kind of have beef with this eon, from what I remember. I don't know. Let's see.
The earth, they say. Once.
Ooh, why are her
and
nails
again.
so long? Ooh.
The tender sprouts will
Wow.
grow to the sky, and the dew that falls
Whoa.
from the branches will rid you of sickness and poison.
Look at that. 6 arms.
Blindfold your eyes, they say,
Wow.
that the approaching darkness may strike no fear in you. Let it
This is such a
not
cool video.
burden your soul, nor numb your stride.
Whoa.
Push open the majestic gates, they say, and lift up the tablets of lapis. Read them aloud.
We know that
Let the fire that
they are
forged
the
bricks and
oldest
the ones that
eon,
laid the
apparently.
walls' foundations be known.
The harmony.
Then
Whoa.
they say,
Ooh.
"Oh, you who have reached the end,
Whoa.
enter into the
puzzle
paradise
pieces?
that envelops all. Join this great
Whoa.
choir and feast. Listen to the beating of
Why do I have chills right now? I like literally have chills.
holding you in their embrace.
Oh my gosh.
Look upon the courtesan's extravagance.
We just met this guy in the
and temperance.
place. Oh, whoa.
Listen to the infant in the mirror, the waves as they enter the
Ooh.
dream, the tipping of the balance, the shapeless prince. And
Wow.
finally, measure the world against yourself and take all such things
Oh,
to
wow.
heart. This is the path you should walk, they say.
This is just a great trailer for the whole. This is just a great trailer for the whole game, sort of. It's not a game trailer, but it kind of was marking out like our path. Not pun intended, like about like what we will be doing and like the different like eons and paths and factions we'll be coming across.
Machiavelli, depart once more. Machiavelli.
Who's this?
Countless shooting stars streak the sky tonight.
I've seen this character a lot, like on like promotional stuff for the game. Because obviously I went into this playthrough pretty blind, but I had like seen some of the characters like on like different things, and I have definitely seen her before.
Night. Should you choose the right one, it will carry your wish to thousands of distant worlds.
Thousands. Whoa. Oh wow. Oh my god. That was so cool. That was so cool. Okay. So I'm trying to gather my thoughts. I've like never reacted like this before, but that was so interesting. It like showed us like all the different, not even all of them, but showed us a lot of the different eons of the world, and was talking about they're different. I want to go back and like see, because I saw there was like some like quotes of text that maybe I didn't get to read, so I want to go back and see those. So for each of the ones, it started out with Nanook. Wasn't there like some words or something? Or maybe there wasn't for this one. Okay. So this one, it says, at the universe's core lies a flame. It burns ever so intensely till entire galaxies are incinerated for the sole purpose of embracing a splendid destruction at the end of all reality. Ooh. Kind of spooky. And so that is Nanook, and that's who we saw before. He looks very scary. Oh my gosh. Okay, so then for the hunt, where's the ones for that?
Could be not dis-
Oh gosh, I can hardly read that. Girl, give me a second. In the first, was that 10,000 years? The hunters struggle for survival. Oh gosh, for the second 10,000 years, the... Ugh. They barely give me a chance to read this thing. Just give me a chance.
Could be not.
The hunters fight on out of the third 10,000 years. The hunters become a purpose
Dismayed.
itself. Okay,
Child of
I think I got to read it. Let's see, where's the next one? Erudition. Ooh, the music is so cool. Okay, if the truth of the universe is cruel and stale, would you still yearn for the answer? The knowledge seeker is impassive, for their core has been cold and unwavering since its birth, as cold as the end of the path they seek. Interesting. And then, what's the next one? Scrub along. Abundance. Yes.
let your staff strike.
She feels sad, for eternal life did not let her accumulate infinite wisdom. Instead, those she had once cherished faded into obscurity over time, never to return. That is sad. And then, are there any other ones? I forgot. Oh, Nihility.
Blind.
All progress toward the void, all resist the void, all will become the void. That pretty much describes that. A little self-explanatory there. And then it was elation, I think. Oh no, preservation.
Gates, they say.
The philosophers gaze up at the sky, contemplating civilization's ultimate goal. Build a wall. I don't know what that says. Blah blah rings in your head. Build a wall. Okay. Yeah, we know that Klepoth, I think it's Klepoth, was trying to build a wall, but I don't know why. So that's what we know. And then Harmony. Behold a perfect home, no sorrows, no disobedience, no longings unfulfilled, no memories of agony. How enviable. Interesting. It was interesting how for this one, since they're the Harmony, and then there was 3 different like faces on the Eon, the voices changed into sort of a harmony, I guess, but it wasn't like a pleasing harmony. It was a bit just discordant, I could say, if that's a real word. And then, do we have any on the other ones? Or do the other ones go by so fast they don't get words?
Look upon the courtesan's extravagance.
Yeah. So these ones just flash by.
Temperance. Listen to the infant in the mirror.
Wow. Okay. That was wonderful. So that was a really interesting first video to watch. Now it's time to get to the second one. So now we're watching the next one, which is 1.0, A Beginner's Guide to the Lore of Honkai Star Rail. And so I'm really excited about this one. This is by Ashikai, and also I have the links to all these videos in the description. Please go see all of the videos and give them likes and stuff. That's really important. Yeah, so I'm excited for this. No one suggested this one to me, but I have seen a lot of this YouTuber's Genshin Impact lore videos, so I thought, you know, as a beginner's guide, this might be a great place for me to start. Fingers crossed, no spoilers, you know. Okay. Without further ado, let's watch this one. Okay. This is a bit of a longer one than the last one.
Okay, If you've clicked this video, you're probably thinking about playing Honkai Star Rail, and if you've seen any of the promotional material, you probably realize that it's a pretty story-heavy game. And story-heavy games tend to have a lot of new stuff to remember, especially sci-fi games, like this one. And that steep learning curve often makes for a confusing first few hours while you wrap your head around what's going on and what it all means.
Yeah, that's definitely been the case for me. I think especially considering that I have not really played any like sci-fi heavy games before. Like I've played like most of the games I've played have been largely like fantasy, like it's just magic, blah blah blah.
But not this time. This time, dear viewer, you have me, Ashikai, lore and theory enthusiast, to assist you in understanding this brand new world of Honkai Star Rail. So this video is a gentle, mostly spoiler-free introduction to the world and lore of Honkai Star Rail. The general idea here is to help ease you into some new terminology and give some more context for how the world within the game works, so you're not totally blindsided and confused or overwhelmed when you pick up the game for the first time. Now, I did say mostly spoiler-free because there will be some minor spoilers for the first hour-ish of the game just because the context is needed.
Great, okay. That's good, because I was like, spoilers. Okay, and we've played through. I'm sure it's the first hour. Because we've been playing for almost like 16 hours. Obviously, not everything has been, go the whole time. But I'm sure we've played through the first hour. I know I'm slow, but not that slow.
And I know a good chunk of you are probably wondering, do I need to play Honkai Impact 3rd to understand the story of Honkai Star Rail?
I thought this too.
They both have Honkai in the title.
Mm-hmm.
And the truth is, no, you don't. While playing Honkai Impact may increase your enjoyment of Honkai Star Rail, the two games take place in entirely different universes.
Okay.
So even if characters in Star Rail share looks and names with characters from Honkai Impact, they're not the same people, so you don't need to worry about not knowing their backstories or anything. There is one exception to this rule, though, but we'll talk about him later.
Okay, that's good, because, I was pretty sure of this already, because I had wondered. I think I'd even wondered before playing Genshin Impact for the first time, like a year ago. I was like, Genshin Impact? Honkai Impact? I'm like, do I need to have played the other one? I haven't played it, which I think I would like to play it one day, because it looks really good. I just wanted to get through Genshin Impact first, because that was the one I was the most interested in starting, and then now I wanted to play Honkai Star Rail because, I don't know, it's just new and it just seemed really fun. So yeah, I'm sure I'll get to that game someday.
But if you are still worried that you might be missing out on some important lore or world building by not playing Honkai Impact, I will start this video by explaining the most relevant part of Hoyo's multiverse setup that carries over from the world building of Honkai Impact.
Oh, that's fun.
Short,
I might not even know about this. Let's see this. I'm excited.
In Star Rail at some point anyway, but here you go. Now, within Hoyo's multiverse setup, which I will now just call the Hoyoverse, there are two primal forces, the imaginary tree and the Sea of Quanta. So it might be easier to think of them as the Tree of Order and the Sea of Chaos.
Okay.
It's a gross oversimplification, but I think it's easier for the unfamiliar people to conceptualize it this way, since the forces of order and chaos are generally at odds with each other, and the imaginary tree and the Sea of Quanta are trying to devour each other. So same kind of concept.
Awesome.
Now, metaphorically speaking, the Sea of Quanta is basically this pool of infinite possibilities from which grows this imaginary tree, which takes those possibilities and orders them, branching out into countless directions.
Okay, that makes sense.
The leaves that sprout at the end of these branches each contain an entire universe in and of themselves. And because these universes are part of this imaginary tree, they all operate based on the laws of the, quote, imaginary. So this imaginary energy from the imaginary tree makes up the basis that is called Honkai in Honkai Impact. But Star Rail just calls it imaginary energy. Imaginary energy is pretty important in Star Rail, as eons and paths, which we will go over in a bit, are very powerful entities made up of imaginary energy.
Gotcha.
It basically makes the world go round. Regardless of how it manifests, though, imaginary energy is likely the reason why Honkai Impact and Honkai Star Rail share the Honkai in their names.
Okay, that makes sense.
That's really it. That's where the connections between the games end, and where our introduction to the unique world of Star Rail begins.
Okay.
But if you're still worried you're missing out on something, I will leave a link to Island XD's guide to Honkai Impact for Star Rail players.
Okay, that's nice.
Now, let's set all that...
I don't know if I'll watch that, because I do want to go play that game eventually at some point.
Impact talk aside, and get familiar with the world of Star Rail.
Yes.
Let's start by talking about paths. Star Rail's universe is focused on this concept of paths.
Yes,
and those who
heavily.
walk a path are known as path striders.
I didn't even know that.
Paths are basically philosophical ideas given some kind of metaphysical form through the accumulation of imaginary energy, which makes them incredibly powerful forces. By believing in and practicing the concepts of a chosen path, a person can draw on the powers of that path and become a path strider.
Okay.
Now, like I said, a path is a philosophical idea.
And that just made me realize something. So, like, I guess it didn't even dawn on me until now, but, like, probably I would guess that maybe most of the people within, like, this universe of Honkai Star Rail, most people are path striders. Would that be, like, true to say? That, like, only people who have found, like, their paths, I guess, are path striders. I wonder, though, if you're a path strider, do you get powers? I don't know. I think I'm overthinking things. Please ignore me.
Those who follow a path believe in its philosophy. For example, path striders of the path destruction may believe that the universe is a mistake and therefore must be destroyed. However, mortals are not bound to any one singular path any more than they are bound to any one way of thinking. If their philosophy changes, their path can change as well. For gameplay purposes, paths manifest as a type of class, if you will.
Yeah.
Those who follow the path of abundance, for example, might be considered to have the class of a healer or a cleric, while someone following the path of destruction has abilities more like a fighter or a berserker. Now, if one finds themselves completely committed to a path and manages to explore the deepest parts of it to truly comprehend it in its entirety, they may transcend their mortal form and become something known as an Eon. Now, you'll notice I did not specify that the one ascending had to be human, and that's because they don't. Any sentient life form, whether organic or inorganic, has the capability of becoming an Eon. So that includes things like artificial intelligence. As for what an Eon...
okay. That makes sense, because I remember reading in the databank, I think they were saying that, like, what's their name? It's the god for, the Eon for the erudition, I believe. Like, I think they were saying that they're like an actual computer. And then, God, there was something else too, but, you know, let's continue.
Actually they are something like the embodiment or master of a path.
And sorry for pausing a lot, I just don't want to talk over her video.
While they're not traditional gods, they are beings of godlike proportions.
Yeah.
To put it into context, they're kind of like an ocean, while a path strider is a mere droplet of water. And while they are ageless, they are not actually immortal, as they can be killed by either another Eon or by ceasing to walk their path. Because remember, they're the embodiment of their path. So without their path,
they don't exist.
This means that an Eon is forever bound to their path, and they cannot stray from it. The Eon of destruction can't just wake up one day and decide to walk the path of harmony, for example.
I see.
To become an Eon, you trade your ability to change for incredible power derived from one singular path.
Okay.
Now, as
that's an interesting concept.
Entities of cosmic proportions, an Eon's interest in mortals may vary, with some Eons choosing to meddle more than others, but ultimately the lives of mortals are small and inconsequential to them. Sometimes, though, a person with a powerful affinity or talent within a given path will pique the interest of an Eon. This is known as drawing the gaze of an Eon. Those who have been...
I'm curious. I mean, obviously, you know, she's just putting up different imagery to, like, you know...
This is known as drawing the gaze.
She's just putting up different imagery to, like, help us, like, understand the concept. But, I wonder if... was this moment where Nanak was looking at us, or I guess I don't know, but we have this image of Nanak in our head after we defeated that, like, big dragon thingy. Was that us drawing their gaze, or what? I'm curious.
Of an Eon. Those who have been gazed upon by an Eon become something called an emanator, which is kind of like the Eon's will given mortal form. Emanators are extremely powerful and often attract other followers of the same paths. In doing so, they form something called a faction, which is really just a fancy way to group followers of an Eon together under one kind of cohesive label. Now, though factions tend to follow the will of an Eon, Forming a faction doesn't necessarily guarantee any sort of special blessing or assistance from the Eon, regardless of whether or not a faction contains an emanator.
Gotcha.
In the end, factions are just people bound by a common way of thinking, so it's handy to know the philosophy of each Eon and their path in order to understand the goals of their associated factions.
Okay. So that helps a lot, honestly, because, yeah, like, I didn't realize how the factions were formed, and, like, obviously the universe is a big place. I was wondering how, like, obviously there's a lot of factions. There showed, like, it was like 30 or so factions. I was wondering how, like, only 30 or so factions would envelop the whole universe's entirety of factions. But if they're sort of drawn on by emanators, I guess it kind of makes sense that, like, the people would just find each other, you know?
Although, since factions are mortal creations, their understanding of their Eon's path can often be twisted or far removed from its original intended meaning. The meaning of things is pretty subjective, after all.
And that makes sense how some of the factions, like, even though they both follow, like, the same Eon or the same path, how some of them are kind of at odds with each other. For example, like, the two, like, factions for Remembrance, I don't remember didn't mean to say it like that, but, you know, I don't exactly remember how it was, but I remember that they both kind of thought differently about things. And there's some other ones like that as well.
Currently, there are 18 known Eons, but only 7 of these Eons' paths are available to playable characters.
Yes.
Every Eon will play a role in the story at some point, and I will probably make a video going over all 18 at some point, but there are only 2 that we're going to familiarize ourselves with today. Those are Akavili, the Trailblaze, and Nanook, the Destruction.
I feel like that's a good place to start.
Akavili was one of those rare Eons that enjoyed mingling with mortals. In fact, they're considered to be the Eon that was closest to mortals.
Yes.
They were also responsible for laying down the rails for the Astral Express train system throughout the universe, and they invited mortals to board these trains. Those who did so joined the Trailblaze path and formed the faction known as the Nameless. Akavili would often adventure alongside their Pathstriders, making them very unique among the Eons.
Yeah.
But I'm using past tense here because Akavili died in a mysterious accident that derailed the Astral Express and wrecked many of its train cars.
Yes. Okay. I'm really excited now. To start, I just want to say, yes, I did read some of this stuff before, but it is helping so much to hear it, like, read back out to me. It's helping these ideas become more concrete in my head. I'm really appreciating that. And then, so Akavili died, and I don't know if, like, this is supposed to be the first place you find out, but I found out through a simulated universe that Aha, the god of the Eon of Elation, was the one who destroyed the train that killed Akavili. So that's kind of crazy. I'm really excited about that.
Without the Astral Express, the Nameless also vanished. But as luck would have it, one of those broken trains landed on the planet Himiko was from. She managed to repair it, reforming the Nameless faction and making the Trailblaze path accessible once again. This is the Astral Express train car that we board as the player. Now, rumor has it that Akavili's heart is in the core that powers the Astral Express, and that's what allows the train to travel across the galaxy.
That
but there's
would be
no
pretty
evidence
sick
to support that claim. But there must be some level of truth to the nature of the core of the train, if only because without the power of an Eon, travel via the Express would be difficult for just a normal Pathstrider. Unlike the free-spirited and benevolent Akavili, the Eon of Destruction, known by the name Nanook, believes that the birth of the universe was a mistake and desires the destruction of all civilizations. Their followers are known as the Antimatter Legion, or just the Legion, and actively attack civilizations with the goal of total annihilation. Nanook is the one responsible for the distribution of Stellarons throughout the universe, and Stellarons play a huge motivating role in Star Rail's story.
Absolutely.
So while we don't really understand Nanook's motivations beyond destroy everything, he is a key Eon to pay attention to because of his connection to the Stellarons.
Yeah. And he isn't and I think if I remember exactly the what are they called? Why do I always forget their name? The League of Destruction, I believe. They're not the only faction that follows the path of destruction either.
So what is a Stellaron?
Yes, please explain.
Well,
oh my god.
A Stellaron is widely believed to be a seed of destruction, created and distributed by Nanook, the Destruction.
Okay.
They're also called the Cancer of all worlds. These seeds fracture reality and spawn rifts that lead to interdimensional spaces called fragmentums, and those attract monsters, so you can see why that would be problematic.
Yes.
The genius Herta claims that Stellarons are actually a type of life form, since they do appear to have some sentience and have been known to communicate with those of a certain aptitude.
Okay.
She also claims that Stellarons can tether themselves to an eon's path, and that they are capable of responding to the cumulative desires of a world or planet that it happens to find itself on.
Interesting.
In certain circumstances, it can even fulfill those desires, but that comes at a cost.
I can imagine.
Stellarons are the seeds of Nanook, after all, and even if they can perform miracles, they ultimately bring disaster
and destruction.
Now, within the first hour or so of the game, we, the player...
I was gonna say, which kind of makes me concerned that we have a Stellaron inside of us, or we're made of a Stellaron. I have no idea. I'm pretty sure we have a Stellaron inside of us, and like our body is just the holder for the Stellaron. And like I'm sure because of that we're gonna experience lots of miracles. We're gonna do a lot of cool things and like probably maybe like help people. I don't know what we're gonna do, but like in the end that kind of makes me worried of like everything is gonna just be destroyed.
And the crew of the Astral Express will learn that the Trailblazer has a Stellaron inside of their body, of all places. This is highly unusual, and while it seems to be pretty stable in there, it's too risky for the Trailblazer to stay in any one place for too long. If the Stellaron becomes unstable for any reason, they could bring destruction to any ship, space station, or planet they happen to be on.
Oh my god.
Luckily, the Nameless aboard the Astral Express are quite experienced in dealing with the Stellaron, since simply having an unstable Stellaron within range of the train tracks can cause the train to come to a complete stop, and it won't move again until the offending Stellaron has been neutralized.
Just like on Eurilo 6.
As long as the Stellaron inside the Trailblazer's body is stable, the Astral Express can move unimpeded.
Yay.
If it becomes unstable, though, well, there are at least people around who can deal with it right away.
Okay.
All in all, the Astral Express is the safest place for the Trailblazer.
I was gonna say, I feel safe and protected with my Astral Express friends.
I've mentioned the Nameless faction quite a bit,
yes,
but I haven't really talked about them individually, so let me rectify this now, because as members of this faction ourselves, we'll be spending a lot of time with them.
Yeah, that makes sense.
To start, we have the elegant scientist Himiko, also known as the one who found and repaired the Astral Express, and that kinda makes her the boss. She might also look pretty laid back, but Welt says she's extremely driven and may be chasing a very big but unknown dream.
I could definitely tell right away that she seemed to be someone like very driven and whatnot, because like, and honestly, I feel like I can tell that just because of her ultimate attack. I don't remember what she says exactly, but I just remember like it was like very obviously it's powerful, it's her ult, but you know, like the words she said, I remember it being something like about, I don't remember what it was. Like, okay, I literally have to check. It's gonna drive me crazy. Okay, I looked it up and remembered what it was. It is that humanity never conceals its desire to control the heavens, and I'm no exception. Yeah, I could tell just by that. I was like, one, she's like crazy powerful, crazy driven, and she definitely has big plans. I mean, only someone who has that sort of like big plans or like lots of passion would even decide to like reboot up like the Astral Express like that and like rebuild this whole faction.
Now, she does share looks and name with a popular character from Honkai Impact, but it's very important to note that they are not the same person. Next,
Good to
we
know.
have Dan Hung, who's level-headed and clever.
Our bestie.
He boarded the train to escape a past that he doesn't like to talk about, and he kind of functions as the train's guardian. He says he's running from something or someone, but he can't quite seem to remember what or who it was. So he's never stayed in one place for too long until he came aboard the Astral Express. Like Dan Hung, March 7th has a bit of a foggy past. She was found by the Nameless floating through space inside of a big chunk of weird magic
I'm very
ice.
curious about her past.
She doesn't remember anything about her past, so they just named her after the day that they found her, which was March 7th. She's excitable, carefree, and at times a little bit careless, but you can always count on her for optimism and her trusty camera.
Exactly.
Welt is among...
We wouldn't be anywhere without March, and that also includes we would be getting in probably less trouble without March too, but that's part of why we love her. We need March 7th around.
The oldest members of the Astral Express and is from the planet Earth. A planet...
Earth? I'm sorry. See, I know the least about Welt out of all of them, and... What? He's from Earth? Like our Earth? That's interesting.
planet that no one else seems to have heard of before. Long after the Honkai threat on Earth had been dealt with, Welt found himself forced to travel into space with a friend to deal with another threat.
Whoa.
Unfortunately, his ship passed through a portal and
Is
broke
there a
down,
manga?
stranding him until he got picked up by the Astral Express. He's searching for a way back home, though, but until then, he's just kind of chilling.
Is there a Honkai Star Rail manga? Or is that from a different manga?
Now, Welt is the only character who's actually from the world set in Honkai Impact, and so far, all references to that game are only relevant to his personal backstory. I think it's possible that, through Welt, we might learn more about the true nature of the events that occur in Honkai Impact, but I'm not convinced that any of those revelations will be impactful to the story of Star Rail.
Okay.
That said...
So that's sort of, I guess, his sort of thing is kind of a bit more of like an Easter egg, maybe, for Honkai Impact players, Honkai Impact 3rd. But that's interesting. I had no idea that he was, like, literally, like, an actual character from that game. Like, they literally were like, oh, yeah, you know Welt from this game? Yeah, well, now he's Welt in this game. So that's interesting. Yeah, I literally don't know anything about him, really.
Ed, if you want to learn more about him, most of his really interesting story beats and accomplishments are actually found in comic form.
Okay, so
I'll leave some
it's the Honkai Impact 3rd comic.
links to those in the description box if you're interested. And that leaves us with the player character, the Trailblazer.
Us.
The Trailblazer has a pretty well-defined and sassy personality and does have voiced lines throughout the game,
I've noticed that.
some of Hoyoverse's previous player characters. The Trailblazer is a character with no known past or family, and in fact, they appear to be completely synthetic, created by a mysterious faction known as the Stellaron Hunters. During the first hour of the game, two Stellaron Hunters, Kafka and Silverwolf, infiltrate Herta's space station and create the Trailblazer as a vessel to house a Stellaron that was being kept by...
Okay, so that helps confirm things for me. So Kafka and Silverwolf, they really did actually create us. Like from what I'm understanding, like I'm correct, right? We didn't exist before they created us. Okay.
By Herta. While their exact motives are unclear, the Stellaron Hunters seem to want the Trailblazer to board the Astral Express in order to reach the end of their story, whatever that means.
I'm so curious.
So with no past, no ties to any planet in particular, and a ticking eon bomb of unknown purpose in their body, the Trailblazer doesn't really have anything except that singular goal of reaching the end of their story to guide them.
Yeah.
Now, this is just speculation on my part, but the Astral Express was created by the Eon Akavili, and Akavili's origin planet is known as Pagana. Pagana is the location where the silver rails of the Astral Express begin and end. So if the Stellaron Hunters want the Trailblazer to follow the path of the Trailblaze and reach the end of their story via the Astral Express, perhaps the Trailblazer's destiny lies in the final destination of Pagana.
That would be really interesting. Obviously, that's just a theory, but, like, I feel like that would, like, story-wise make a lot of sense. Like, if our end of the journey would be where the rails begin and end, I think that just quite literally makes a lot of sense. Okay.
As for the reasons behind the journey and what they might find when they arrive at the final stop of the Astral Express, you'll just have to play the game and find out for yourself.
Yeah,
However,
we'll know one day.
Covering the lore of this game, including story recaps, summaries of
Cool.
in-game materials, character profiles, and so much more. So drop by whenever you need a break from combat. Honkai Star Rail has a ton of compelling characters to meet, stunning locations to explore across the universe, and plenty of mysteries to uncover. And this is just the beginning.
Yay! Okay, so that was lots of fun. What am I doing? Okay, so I think that was a great video. No one suggested that one to me, but I found it myself and decided to add it to the playlist, and I'm really glad I did. I feel like that I don't know, it helped like contextualize things a lot better for me and make things a lot easier to understand, and also gave me some more ideas about the future, and also told me some fun facts that I really did not know about. I'm very glad I added that to the list. Okay, so now it's time for the last video of the day. This one is called Eons, the Gods of Honkai Star Rail, Honkai Star Rail Lore. And yeah, just like the other ones, the link to this video is in the description, so please go watch that one as well. I don't know much about this. This was something that someone suggested, and they said that like the designs of maybe some eons might be like spoiled or something, but this is a very old video, so I don't think it's going to be any designs that I haven't already seen from that previous trailer thing we watched and from like Simulated Universe. So I think we're good on spoilers and stuff. So yeah, let's just see what this video is all about.
The Hoyoverse games have several common themes. There's always some form of corruption that changes and mutates the world, elements are commonly present, and in each universe, there are always gods that govern its realities. This is the same in the universe Honkai Star Rail inhabits. These gods, however, are quite numerous, and there's still quite a lot we don't know about them. So
there's a lot.
Let's talk about the many eons that rule over the Star Rail universe. Before we get into that, if you want to see more Honkai Star Rail content, do consider subscribing.
Go check out their channel, please, and subscribe.
Since we are talking about the gods here, just expect there to be some spoilers in this video. Now, in general, this is a rather huge topic. There are many different eons that exist, and each has a path that is associated specifically to them. In order to avoid making this video extremely long, I'm just going to talk about the eons whose paths we are already aware of.
Okay.
But just for your information,
that
there are a
good.
total of 14 eons, each with their own paths. I'm sure you're a bit confused why I'm talking about paths in a video about the eons. They are just elements or classes of the characters, right? Well, the thing is, these two topics are very closely related.
Yeah.
And to talk about one of them, you need to talk about the other.
Exactly.
Every time a god is born, a path is created. Think of paths as a collection of idealistic or imaginary energy that adhere and make up specific concepts. If we take the path of destruction as an example, any act or thought that coincides with concepts of destruction such as anger, recklessness, and direct destructive behaviors contribute or make up the path of destruction.
Yeah, and like we learned a bit about this in the previous video, how like the eons and the paths, they're very much tied to each other like that. Like they kind of exist because of each other. They have this like ideology of some certain thing so much that they become the eon of it, and now it's a whole path that other people can dedicate themselves to.
So the path itself can be conceptual in nature, but can also encompass direct or physical actions as well. The eons are each directly tied to their specific paths and are forced to follow them upon their ascension. In this sense, the paths are basically the portfolio of each of the eons. The eon of destruction, for example, will only pursue actions that are deemed to bring about destruction and will likely be uninterested in anything else. This makes the eons largely single-minded and why communicating with them very difficult. If you happen to attract the gaze of one and talk about a topic it's not interested in, then it'll just probably leave or just ignore you outright. Being a collection of...
So that's interesting. Thinking about it that way, then it's interesting that Nanook looked at us, I think, or we saw a vision of him during that part. I don't know.
The path is also the main source of power for these gods. Once a being ascends into godhood, they are permanently put on a specific path they are forced to follow.
Yes.
But it also grants them access to the unlimited energies the path itself is made up of.
Exactly.
Many humans who adhere to certain beliefs or practices will often find themselves upon such paths. Natasha, for example, embodies the path of abundance through her beliefs and actions as a healer and a doctor. When a person has a strong enough will that, I suppose, resonates with a...
And sorry to pause, but so that made me think, I've obviously kind of seen from the character trials in game, I've seen, even though we haven't reached it there yet in the story, I've seen that some of like our main characters that we know, like March and Donhung and the Trailblazer, I know that they have also like other forms with different paths. So I'm curious like how that comes about. I mean, I know I've been told that you know, the paths of the characters don't necessarily symbolize the path that they're on, because obviously, you know, like I think March is like preservation, but you know, she's obviously you know, one of the nameless. She follows like that like trailblaze path like in reality. So obviously the stuff that goes on with like how the characters are versus like the story, like it's not exactly the same. But I wonder if like for us especially, like the trailblazer, like the main person, us, I wonder if when we go on new paths in the future, if that is gonna be like directly tied with like, I don't know, like a change of our personal philosophies in the game. Please don't spoil that for me, but you know, I'm curious about that.
They too can access some of its powers. It's my speculation that this is how humans gain their powers in Star Rail, but it's unconfirmed at this point, so just take it with a grain of salt.
Okay.
Anyways, whenever a person achieves this, they are described to feel the gaze of the Aeon associated with that particular path. We've seen this happen with the main character when Nanook, the Aeon of Destruction, averted his gaze for but a moment to cast his view upon the main character.
Yeah.
Now, I can't underline this enough. You might think that this symbolizes some form of acknowledgement, but in reality, it's just a fleeting speck of curiosity from the Aeon, as someone of a strong enough will was able to step foot on their path. They are still largely uninterested, or at least that's how it's explained to us.
And honestly, that would make a lot of sense, since a lot of the Eons aren't fully interested in, you know, their followers. They're just interested in, you know, the things that have to do with their path.
This connection is the most interaction any mortal can hope to get from such lofty beings.
Okay.
So now that you roughly know what the Eons are, let's briefly talk about some of them.
This is pretty artwork.
In the future, when enough information is
I like this one.
I'll probably do a dedicated video for each of these gods, but for now, we can just cover each within the span of this video.
Yeah, a little overview is
nice. The
nice.
first Eon that we see in game is the Eon on the path of destruction.
Yes.
No, he appears as a humanoid male with dark skin and golden energy emanating from his body, along with a huge open gash on his chest.
Yeah.
Based on the little we know about him, he was born from someone called Adlivun when their world was destroyed. We don't know much else about his origins.
So he was created from
of the
destruction in a way.
Was the god who distributed it across the universe. While not much is known about the Stellaron itself, considering it's referred to as a cancer of all worlds, they are likely seeds that can cause untold destruction when given the opportunity to develop. This is in line with Nanook's goals, as he views the birth of the universe as a mistake, and to correct its course, it must be destroyed. Functionally, he embodies the concept of entropy. The next Eon we run into is Qlipoth, during the events of the Belobog campaign.
Yeah. And Qlipoth is also the oldest god. He's going to tell us, I'm sure.
Qlipoth is the Eon of the path of preservation, which embodies ideals related to patience, sacrifice, and any defensive behavior, such as protecting someone. True to the path of preservation, Qlipoth is
and that's
one
what
of
the architects want to do,
existence, and
right?
It takes on the appearance of a large stone golem adorned with gold-colored energies and minerals strewn across its body. His appearance is why he is often referred to as the Ember Lord.
Yeah.
Now, Qlipoth is mentioned to have several feats under his belt, but to be honest, it isn't clear what is referred to. The Celestial Comet Wall, the Subspace Crystalline Barrier, and the Great Attractor Base all sound impressive, but we have no idea what purpose they serve.
Yeah.
He was also mentioned to have created a seal that isolated and protected living worlds from any danger, and being on the path of preservation, we can sort of assume that these other constructs of his serve a similar purpose.
Yeah.
Now,
I'm interested on what his whole wall thing is.
unclear if he's doing this.
Also, whatever's on the screen right now, I'm not reading it because it's obviously something I haven't seen yet, and I'm not gonna be spoiled by visuals. So just so you know, if I see things that are on the screen that that don't look familiar to me, I'm kind of, averting my gaze a bit and just listening, just so you know. So don't worry, I'm not getting spoiled by whatever the heck's going on here. I'm kind of just listening, okay?
Purely for the sake of preserving living beings, or he has some other motive. But given the single-minded nature of the Eons, it's likely the former is at play here. Now from here on out, the rest aren't that well known, and we have yet to meet them, so just
I'm not
keep that
looking
in
at
mind.
this.
The path of the Hunt
Okay.
is governed by the Eon Lan, who appears as a massive humanoid chariot hybrid thing. I have no idea what this thing is. They are referred to as the Archer Lord of Fate, and travels the cosmos, destroying the many sinful creations of the Aeon of Abundance. This Aeon focuses more on the act of the hunt itself, and does not distinguish between salvation and destruction. It stands in contrast to the Aeon of Abundance, who heals and creates without any meaningful consideration. That makes a great segue to the Aeon of Abundance, Yaoshi. Yaoshi appears as a four-armed humanoid with feminine features,
I was gonna
clad
say
in
6
green
arms.
and white. She is the embodiment of life and nurtures and creates it whenever possible. This is why the path values healing and altruism. Now, why does the Aeon of the Hunt and the Aeon of the Abundance stand in opposition to each other? Well, it's simply because while Yaoshi's path does embody healing and altruism, their main goal is the proliferation of life.
Like
All
immortality.
life. This includes both the good and the bad, and the Aeon of the Hunt doesn't see the purpose of these bad existences and thus aims to destroy them. There are even cases where through the unrestricted creation of life, many wars and fighting occur.
Yes.
Yaoshi itself isn't specifically evil, as she really is just fixated on ensuring any and all life prospers, but doesn't see the after effects of such single-minded pursuits.
It obviously comes with some
despite them
downsides.
being at odds with each other, neither are truly evil in the traditional sense. But that's really all we know so far about.
Yeah, like neither of them are bad. They're both obviously just doing what they think is right. It's obviously the path that they're going down, but like they're not fully, good either.
The Aeon of the Hunt and the Aeon of Abundance. Next up, we have the Aeon of Erudition, the Lord of Truth and Logic, Nous, or Knows? I don't know. At the current point in the story, we don't know what the Aeon of Erudition looks like, but it's said that before its ascension, it was an astral computer designed and tasked with providing answers of the universe. It likely ascended after evolving sufficiently, and my guess would be that it has some mechanical appearance, but I don't know. The path of
That's the only thing I can
erudition
imagine
values
too.
logic, thinking, and strategic behavior, and while we can guess at what the Aeon itself is like, it's very possible that much like its original design, the Aeon of Erudition aims to understand the universe in its entirety.
Yes.
Now, opposite to the cold and direct nature of logic is the Aeon of the Path of Harmony, Zipe or Zype. I swear, some of these names are more mysterious than the Aeons themselves, and I'm probably butchering them, so just give
that's
me
so
a pass
true.
for now. The
That's
game
so
is still
true.
new. The Aeon of Harmony values beliefs that encourage support and cooperative behaviors. It preaches the ideals of unity amongst humans and all living beings. We don't really know much about this Aeon, though it seems to focus a lot on the concept of self-sacrifice, such as the strong must protect the weak. But that's about all we know about it.
Yeah.
Finally, we reach the last of this list. One of the most mysterious of the Aeons, and so mysterious that I have no idea how to say its name. Now, I don't know if this is really
I'm pretty sure it's
pronounced as
Nihility.
X, like IX, or it's just the Roman numeral for 9. So I'll just refer to it as the Aeon of Nihility.
Okay.
Nihilism is basically a belief that life and everything associated to it is meaningless. Most on this path believe that the universe will inevitably return to a state of nothingness, and thus everything up to that point is just, well, pointless. The Aeon of Nihility doesn't even seem to have a permanent or tangible form, and upon gazing on its visage, all one really sees is just mist and space folding onto more mist and space. True to its path, it doesn't really interact much with other Aeons, and seems to just be waiting for all of it to end. Because of its nature, again, we don't really know much else about it. And that's basically all the Aeons of the 7 main paths that we currently know.
Okay, cool. I'm learning so much today, guys. Okay.
There is one more that is practically the reason the star rail exists, but I will likely cover that beyond in a separate video. As I mentioned at the start, there are many others I have yet to cover, so perhaps a part 2 will come out in the future.
The veracity,
frankly speaking, we don't know much about these eons at this point, but it does seem that for most of them, they were mortal one time or another. Perhaps those who step on their paths also hold the potential to ascend and usurp them, but it's still early in the story to tell that for sure.
Yes.
I hope that moving forward we do see more of the eons and maybe get an expansion on their story, but for now we'll just have to wait. That does it for this video though. If you enjoyed it, do consider liking and
please go
subscribing
like
to the channel.
The original video, guys. That was so interesting. I feel like I'm so happy we did this today. Yeah, I think seeing all these videos today has really helped like clear up a lot of stuff for me, and not even like clear up, but you know, like really helped like give me like just a better base understanding of what's going on here. And yeah, I think like story-wise, I'm in a much better position than I was before I started this, so I'm really excited now to go back and continue playing. So I just want to say thank you to the people who suggested I do this, and to the people who even suggested a couple videos. And also thank you to the original creators of the videos that I watched here. Like I said before, link in the description to go check them out. Yeah, that's gonna be all for today. I'm sorry, I'm so tired. You'll see that this video probably isn't that long, but I've been recording for like almost 2 hours because my dog keeps barking every like 5 minutes. So I'm a little tired now. But anyway, yeah, next video will be the next part of our playthrough, episode 9. I haven't recorded it yet, but I think we're gonna go back to continuing the Trailblaze mission, so that's something fun to look forward to. Thank you so much for joining me for this type of video. It's the first time I've ever done it, and hopefully maybe someday we'll do something like this again. Who knows? But yeah, please have a good rest of your day, everyone.